This is KGW News at 5.
Now at 5, a fire breaks out at a bank in Portland early this morning. The fire has since been put out, but a cause is still unknown. Plus,
the fact that all these patients are being boarded in emergency departments attests to the fact that we are out of hospital capacity.
Local hospitals are at their breaking point as they face a new wave of RSV, COVID, and flu patients. And the problem could get worse. One doctor gives his perspective. And later, Oregon's 2022 climate story. Our state saw no shortage of extreme weather events. We'll explain how this year's weather could impact 2023. Welcome to KGW News at 5. Happy New Year's Eve. I'm Christelle Kumwe. Before we get to your local news, let's take a look at New Year's Eve celebrations across the world. Our first stop, Thailand, where fireworks flew over the Bangkok River. As you can see, some fireworks even took off from ships in the water. Hong Kong has also welcomed the new year. Here's a look at the Victoria Harbour, where people celebrated with fireworks, performances, including musicians and jump ropers. Our last stop is Sydney, Australia, where 7,000 fireworks were launched from the Sydney Harbour Bridge. Another 2,000 fireworks were launched from its iconic Opera House. The display also featured 100,000 individual pyrotechnic effects. Sydney was one of the first major cities to welcome the new year. It's New Year's Eve, and we want to hear your New Year's resolutions. Post your resolutions, maybe, and why you do not have one on our Twitter or Facebook pages. You can also text the number you're seeing right now at 503-226-5088. We'll share your responses Monday on Sunrise. Now let's get to some of your local headlines. Portland fire and rescue crews were called to a fire just after 3 a.m. this morning at a Bank of America on Hawthorne Boulevard near Southeast 37th Avenue. The fire was put out around 4:30 this morning, but the cause is still under investigation. And in Newburgh this morning, Tualatin Fire and Rescue put out a fire at an apartment on Fernwood Road. One person was taken to a burn center for treatment and one bedroom was damaged. No word yet on what started that fire. And right now, local hospitals are overwhelmed with RSV, COVID, and flu patients, and that's according to Oregon Health Authority. And after tonight's New Year celebrations, it could get worse. Now, Brian Clerkley is joining us. And Brian, you spoke to a doctor who tells us how we can potentially protect ourselves. However, let's start with capacity at hospitals.
Yes, capacity at hospitals is a huge issue. He says hospitals have been overwhelmed for weeks, Christelle. Since Thanksgiving, there have been over 300 patients statewide who have needed hospital beds but weren't able to get them, so they had to be treated in emergency departments. The doctor says RSV is coming down, but flu and COVID cases are starting to go up. He would suggest masking up this New Year's Eve.
We had an increase of 100 patients who were being boarded in emergency departments after the Thanksgiving holiday because there's so little space in the hospitals.
The triple-demic of RSV, COVID-19, and the flu are showing no signs of letting up. Health officials say all three of these airborne viruses are highly contagious among children and adults. Dr. Paul Cieslak with the Oregon Health Authority has some concerns going into New Year's Eve. He says there are high rates of all three viruses right now. The big problem, hospitals are having a hard time keeping up.
24% of people who get tested for flu are positive, and about 8 to 12% of patients with COVID are testing positive for COVID. That's varying day to day a little bit. And in the most recent week, 11% of people tested for RSV are positive.
Dr. Cieslak is concerned that these positivity rates will increase after people gather for New Year's celebrations. He says when viruses hit the community, they also hit medical staff, which amounts to staffing shortages in a medical system that's already stretched to its limits.
The fact that all these patients are being boarded in emergency departments attests to the fact that we are out of hospital capacity. And if you go to an emergency department, you can expect to wait many hours unless you're critically ill.
Dr. Cieslak has some familiar advice that people can take to protect themselves and others.
avoid large gatherings. I know that's hard to do around the holidays, but maybe have a quieter New Year's celebration. And if you're in a enclosed space with a lot of people, wear a mask.
Dr. Cieslak also urges people to stay home if they're sick and get up to date on your COVID vaccine and flu shots. Christelle.
Thanks for the update, Bryant. The Beaverton DMV is closed. It probably won't open for about 10 days. ODOT says it had to shut down the location because of a burst pipe which caused extensive damage. They don't expect to open back up until at least January 9th or later. The people who normally work at the Beaverton DMV are being reassigned to other offices for the time being.
News of arrest is a welcome one. It's relief to our university, our community, and our extended Vandal family.
An arrest in the quadruple murder near the University of Idaho campus. And as Mike Benner reports, the suspect is a graduate student at a nearby university.
This was a very complex and extensive case.
At a press conference Friday afternoon, law enforcement announced an arrest in the slayings of 4 University of Idaho students. Authorities identifying the suspect as 28-year-old Brian Christopher Koberger.
Koberger resides in Pullman, Washington, and is a graduate student at Washington State University.
That school happens to be approximately 15 minutes to the west of the University of Idaho campus, where detectives say Koberger murdered the 4 college students in the early morning hours of November 13th.
Some had defensive wounds, and each had been stabbed multiple times.
Moscow Police Chief James Fry says more than 19,000 tips from the public led authorities to Koberger, who was apprehended early Friday in a private community about an hour south of Scranton, Pennsylvania. Neighbors there are in shock.
I'm a little terrified. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm shaking right now. That's really close to our family.
Yeah, I'm moving farther away.
I don't see no reason to murder somebody. 4 people, thousands of miles away, and just to come back home. I don't understand.
Koberger is currently lodged in a Pennsylvania jail awaiting extradition to Idaho, specifically Moscow, a community that in all likelihood will never be the same.
These murders have shaken our community, and no arrest will ever bring back these young students. However, we do believe justice will be found through the criminal process.
As we mentioned, Koberger is in a Pennsylvania jail. He is facing 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of felony burglary. I'm Mike Benner for KGW News.
And new tonight, Brian Koberger has decided to waive his extradition hearing. His attorney says Koberger is eager to be exonerated and waived his extradition hearing to expedite being transported to Idaho. 2 teenagers could face criminal charges over a social media post that threatened violence at West Salem High School. The Marion County Sheriff's Office says the FBI got involved after seeing the post, which threatened violence the day school is back in session from holiday break. Investigators tracked the post to a homeschooled 16-year-old who lives east of Salem. They also say a 15-year-old West Salem High student was involved. District attorneys will decide whether to press charges. Now to a really disturbing case of what appears to be a random act on a 3-year-old. The child will be okay, but the details of what happened to her are scary. Tim Gordon has the story.
Well, you say disturbing, and this truly is. And so we want to warn everyone that the video of this incident from Wednesday night is hard to watch. That video is now evidence against the woman accused of pushing the child onto the tracks.
It's a 5-second clip that we've slowed down, showing a mother's worst fear. As the mom stands by a stroller, her 3-year-old daughter is pushed from a Gateway Transit Center Max platform to the tracks below, the child hitting on the rail and rocks. A security camera captured what happened. Investigators say the woman in the red hat is 32-year-old Brianna Lease Workman, who got up from a bench and pushed the 3-year-old. Workman was arrested and now faces a host of charges, including assault and recklessly endangering another person. According to court documents, the child's mother reported that neither she nor the 3-year-old had any interaction with the suspect prior to the attack. And a witness observed Workman shove the young child onto the Max tracks without provocation. We want to emphasize the girl was quickly rescued and fortunately seemed to suffer only minor injuries, including a headache. For many, what happened at this MAX station goes beyond concerning to maddening. Court documents show the suspect, Workman, has a felony arrest history with drug and assault charges. A judge dismissed a case last summer where Workman was accused of slashing a man in the arm with a knife after the Multnomah County District Attorney's Office declared it was unable to proceed when asked to provide its evidence. In this incident involving the 3-year-old, the DA has rolled out a full serving of charges, and Workman is being held in jail, with the DA requesting she stay there without bail.
While Workman is described as homeless in court paperwork, it also shows that she did not answer questions about her mental health status or other issues. Her next court date is January 9th. Tim Gordon, KGW News.